Hey there, welcome to the Xennial Mindset Show. I'm Marie Mack, born in 1983.
And I'm Anne-Marie Pasquino from the crew of 1977. Together, our mission is to unravel the intricate layers of the Xennial mindset, where cherished memories of cassette tapes and rotary phones seamlessly coexist with cutting-edge technology and social media frenzy.
We'll also have some awesome guest Xennials dropping by, bringing their own stories and insights to the table.
So, whether you're a fellow Xennial craving a trip down memory lane, or just curious to know what the Xennial mindset is all about, stick around.
The Xennial Mindset Show is your backstage pass to our world where nostalgia meets innovation. Let's get started.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We are here again in a brand new year, and we have a really great topic. I know so many people talk about New Year's resolutions and how we're going to set goals and all the wonderful, beautiful things, which Anne-Marie and I were just having a little green room discussion. I think we would rather just talk about being intentional. How about we just talk about being intentional in the new year and what that looks like, especially for our Xennials, because I think we're in a really amazing and beautiful space because we're right in the middle of all these different generations. And being intentional is really all about balance overall in life. Because I think as Xennials, and, comment or talk to us or say something if you think differently, there are so many different things that pull our attention that we really do have to be intentional with what we're doing. So that's the topic today, talking about an intentional year. We have several different topics we're going to kind of touch on. Always love to hear from our viewers. So please let us know what you think. If you agree, if you disagree, how you feel inside of your lives, because it's always good to know if, first that we're not alone in thinking these weird ways. But second, that, we're just creating conversation and opening dialogue. So Anne-Marie, I know, we just kind of had this great conversation in the back, but let's bring it to the forefront here and talk about, the first thing is resolutions. I'm just going to bring this up first because New Year's resolutions, I'm going to say, I think are completely dumb. They're just asinine. I don't know why people create resolutions every single year because they just break them. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm just going to speak for myself. I have yet to have a year in my life where I created a New Year's resolution and kept to it. I don't know what that says about me as a person. Maybe I'm just going to point back to myself. But I also feel like I don't want to set a resolution or something very intentional that has the opportunity to break. And then if I do something like, I'm going to drink water every day, like, of course I can do that. Like, that's not a really hard resolution. I don't know. What do you think about resolutions?
So, Happy New Year, everyone. Just want to
Happy
jump
New Year.
in.
Yes.
Just want to jump in and wish everybody a Happy New Year. I'm really excited to be talking about this today. Let's talk about resolutions. I am like you. I think they're stupid. You know what? I think there's a difference between resolutions and goals. And I think I'm more of a goal-oriented person where I'm like, okay, I'm going to set some goals. I think resolutions are hard because you're like, hey, I'm going to have this. And then you're thinking about it for 12 months, right? You probably don't even get past like month one. But I agree with you. I'm, like, hey, I'm going to lose weight, or hey, I'm going to exercise. And I think it comes with this thing of like, it's the new year and it's a new me. And like, you got to set these resolutions. And even more so today because of social media, everybody's like, yeah, you're going to start the new year. What are you going to do? What are your resolutions? But I'm very much like you. I don't believe in them. I don't set any resolutions. That doesn't mean that they're not good, for people that are listening and that do it. I'd love to kind of hear from people like, how do you stick to your resolutions? I think, that's the biggest thing, because it's either you're sticking to it or you're not.
I just looked up the definition, and definition of resolution is a firm decision to do or not to do something. And it's just like a firm resolution. What? Oh my gosh. Like, you're stuck to this. As I was reading this resolution definition, you were speaking and it came to me. I'm just like, my life is so fluid and like flexible, and like I would rather be flexible with what is happening that to have something that is a firm decision that you are resolute in doing, it just doesn't fit with my lifestyle. Like, I could be resolution oriented all I want to be, and then something's going to come in my life. And then what have I done? I've just broken a resolution because whatever, my kid gets sick one day, or I'm sorry, I have to go down and help my grandmother move, or what all the things are happening. I mean, and that's Xennial all over the South, right? Like grandparents and kids and parents and business and life and work. Like, there are so many things that need balancing. I would love to hear from our viewers about resolution. Maybe we're doing it wrong. So yeah, I'm glad that, of course, we're in good company with each other where resolutions, no thank you. And if we're doing it wrong and somebody's been doing it right, please, because I'm always open to that. I do love that you set goals. So are you open to sharing any goals that you've set for this year?
You know what? I think I've set personal goals. I've set professional goals. I probably have shared my professional goals with you because we work together every day. But I think personal goals are, I do want to be healthier. I do want to start exercising more. I'm getting close to the 5-0. So that's pretty scary. But, how can I be more health conscious? How can I, exercise more? And I think that's important just because we work from home and we are at our desks all day and we are on calls. So I think for me, that is my personal health goal. I think professionally within my business, you and I have a lot of plans that we haven't really shared with our viewers, but we're starting this new venture together in strategic partnerships. So one of my goals is really to launch this and put more focus around that part of the business and really go out there and network more with people. I think one of the challenges we have is because we are remote, because we are online businesses, we're always talking to people behind a screen. So one of my goals this year, I think very much like one of yours, is to get out there and to meet people and to network and to travel and just be more in person, which is a big change. So that's one of my goals. And I think as much as I probably said this last year, is work smarter, not harder. So think about ways in our businesses to do that, because you and I have 5 and 10-year goals that we want to accomplish and eventually retire. So I think it's really putting that into perspective and just planning accordingly so that we have the right goals in place to get us to where we want to be in 10 years for me and 8 years for you, I think we said, or 7 years or something like that. Yeah.
And Xennials are the best people to make goals like this because we are taking that like planning part of it. And then there's also this healthy level of like, okay, we don't have to work forever. Like, I know that, my in-laws set such a great example of that, of really planning and being intentional and sharing with their children. I think that that's something I didn't think about until I started hearing them say, we have this much time before my father-in-law retires. And like of course you have a retirement party, but we like had a moment, even if it was just a drink together, where it's just like one more year down, so many months to go. Like we like celebrated the process that closed down to that retirement. And I thought that was really amazing and intentional and perfect. So yeah, I love all your goals. Of course I love all your goals. I have specific goals. I like to try to put things on the calendar because if they don't, then they don't happen in my world. So definitely meeting people in person. That's something I did not do at all, I don't think, in 2024. I did some in 23, kind of after pandemic-y things finished up. But so we have an event we're going to in person, and you and I get to meet in person, which is amazing. And several people that we work with in our industry will be there. And that is huge. Like to sit across the table literally from somebody is just such a gift, really, because we are always so remote. And then I know physically, I really want to, I'm going to say this aloud. This is crazy town. I really want to run a half marathon. Last year, I did, I think 10 different 5K races where I competed. And so in 2025, I would love to run a half marathon. that does take some focus because it's so easy. There'll be so many days where my little Apple Watch tells me that I did not stand up enough, and I hate that. But then I like it, but I hate it. I don't know. I've got a love-hate relationship with my watch. So I just want to be intentional about movement because we can get very stuck behind the desk. So those are great. And I was just thinking about this, like, we can only make these kind of goals for the new year as we like look back in the past, right? Like, I probably would not have made a goal to do a half marathon if I didn't in 2024 make a goal to do so many 5K races. Like 5K now is easy. I do that on a daily because I can and love to run. But that makes it a little bit more of a stretch to do like a half marathon. So reflection in the past year, I don't usually always do that, but I've been much better this year. I don't know why that is, but really looking back of like what worked last year, what didn't work, what did I say that I was going to do that I didn't, and then why? Like, did I set a goal that wasn't right at the time? I'm going to get a little more woo than we typically do, but there's something about like recognizing that all of my goals, if they don't come to fruition, it might not have been the right time in the universe or how I needed to play out my life. And accepting that as opposed to seeing it as a failure. And I think that this is a little bit more of like my Gen X side, like tweaking a little bit. I like where the resolutions come in and how it seems so final and like direct.
Yeah.
And where like I can use a little bit more intuition about what is coming and how I need to tap into that. Just sitting on this teeter-totter of thoughts and emotions and tapping into different things. So anyway, a little bit more woo than you've probably heard me talk about before.
I appreciate that. Just for our listeners, Marie has been great at giving her team and her colleagues and people she meets, like to set intentions and goals for the year. She does that every year since I've known her, and does check-ins with people. And I think that's great because accountability is a big one, right? You can set your goals. Right. And I think one of my challenges is I've shared some of my professional goals, but my personal goals, I really haven't shared with anybody. So at the end of the day, if I don't do them, like I'm not accountable. There's nobody actually, making me accountable to like reach these goals. And I think one of the things that a lot of the discussions I was having last year, because we work with a lot of coaches, is having coaches that make you accountable for these goals. So one of the things that, I met with a business coach last year, and I'm thinking about like, do I pursue that this year? I met with a health and wellness coach last year and went through his program and, just kind of learned through that. So the accountability, I think, is really important. And you do that a lot, You do it with your team and your business. And, you ask people to set their goals out for the year. You check in with them, but you're also very flexible. And I think that's what's great because like you said, people's lives change all the time, right? So if you're like, hey, John said he was going to set up his business website. John, did you do it? No. Okay. Well, what can you do? Right. So if you aren't able to reach that ultimate goal, what are the smaller things that you can do and steps you can take that will get you towards accomplishing that goal? So, for those of you listening, Marie is the person to help set those goals and check in and make you accountable for them. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. I think the biggest thing with any accountability thing is just to say it aloud and to say it aloud to somebody else. Like we'll do a little challenge here for people listening, and maybe you've already done this. I don't know. A lot of times people sit in a corner and they'll write their little goals down on a sheet of paper. And I mean, like as I'm doing this, I have a sheet of paper that wrote goals down. But at the end of the day, it's about saying it to somebody else. That's why right before I said I was going to run a marathon, I'm like, oh crap. Right? Like I just said it aloud. I now have you to be accountable, Anne-Marie, and also people listening to be accountable. And I think that's healthy. Like there's a healthy place to be when you set an intention and then you say it aloud to somebody else. And there's a certain intrinsic motivation that is activated. That's why I do ask. And we do this with our clients too. What does 2025 look like? I know you do it with your clients as well, where let's say what that is and let's state it aloud, and then let's talk about what it means to do that and steps that it takes to do that. In all the teams that I work in, that's where the focus is in January. And it's not resolution focused. It's like, what are your goals? And whether it's spirituality or health and wellness or professional goals or learning a new language, I don't know where that fits. But it all is really important to state aloud. And the more people we tell, the more support we have. And the more support we have when things seem a little bit off. Like if, like last year, I broke my ankle. Not running, of course. I was hiking and I was doing something epic on a waterfall, but I did break my ankle and that put a damper on my running. So when I'm setting a goal after a decent setback of running even further, it seems bigger and more accomplishing to me. I don't know if accomplishing is the right word, but because people know in my family and my life, they know that I broke my ankle. So they know how hard and intentional I have to be to set a goal of running a longer distance on that. So that's just one example. I mean, there's so many inside of personal and professional lives about it, but I think it's important. So it's great and we're flexible around it, right?
I
I
just want to jump in because I think that has a lot to do with our generation and who you are as a person, obviously, because not everybody is the same, but we are flexible, we are resilient, we adapt well to different situations. And I know that when I meet with my clients and we set goals, I always tell them that we will, set goals and intentions, but we will learn. And if we need to reset and refocus, we will, right? It's always important to have that, be adaptable and that flexibility in, when you're doing those types of things. So I think it does have a lot to do with our generation.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And I think that I know Michael, like when we talked about goals just now, I hear so many people in the past, I would say 10 years ago, I only heard about professional goals. People, I don't feel like to me, were very open about sharing personal goals where they are open to sharing personal goals now. I don't know if I'm just kind of realizing that people will say their personal goals, either eating goals or health goals or, spending more time with family. That is on a goal list for almost everybody I've seen. They don't want to be working more, which is kind of that hustle nation that we've been in the past. They want to be working more intentionally, which is why I think our word of intentional is great. And intentional working is like my absolute why in this universe. Like, to have everybody be more intentional with the time that they're doing by planning and being specific with what they are. And then giving them that power to say no when it is time to quit. I know that Anne-Marie, you of all people see my calendar and you'll be like, what did you do? And I'm also accountable to you because you do see it. And if you see me up doing something in the night, it's like, what are you doing? That's not the plan here. And I think that's important. It's all balance. It's all in and out and you can no longer, I feel like, stop a certain thing at a certain time and be like, now is family time. Now is work time. Now is playtime. Like it sort of blends together.
Yeah.
Especially in an online and virtual space where we work from home. Both of us have offices in our home. And it's easy for me to flip in and out of work and then going to be mom and then going over and like doing dishes while I'm eating lunch. Like that happens. I don't know. That happened today. So it's pretty amazing to see that. Go ahead.
Sorry, just before we jump to the next topic, I do want to go back to what you said about setting professional goals and personal goals and just how that has evolved over the years. And I think one of the reasons it has, if I think back to earlier on in my corporate career, we didn't set personal goals, we set professional goals. But back in the day, there was no such thing as work-life balance. Nobody talked about work-life balance. So I think now as, the years have gone on, work-life balance has been a big part of everyone's lives. And that's why I think so many more people are setting personal goals and sharing personal goals because everybody is in alignment, in agreement with the importance of work-life balance. So I think that's just something to say about the evolution of that and why people would be sharing more of their personal goals.
I think so too. And I think it's also like we know, you and I know, because we are in partnerships, we are in the relationship, the business of relationships. It makes people more real when you can connect with them. If I meet somebody else who's like, oh, I'm going to run a half marathon this year, like, oh, yeah, me too. Like, we have an instant connection just because of a goal that was set, whether I know that person or not. And it's always so important for our work and in anything. Like, if I see somebody at the grocery store or if I meet somebody at a restaurant, I always want to find some kind of like human connection to them, like, oh, I love your shirt, or there's always like, this is just being good people, good human. And I think that's a part of it. Inside of the people that you work with the most, like, why wouldn't you want to know something special that they are doing for themselves personally and help them stay accountable to it? And I love that. So I know I had mentioned this earlier about my watch, where I have this love-hate relationship with my watch. I was trying to figure out why. And then I saw our talking points and I remembered that it's the technology piece.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely hate being attached to this thing that helps me so much. Like, I don't know why that is. I have an Apple Watch. I've had an Apple Watch for the last 5 years. I use it daily to keep myself on track in inside of my time blocks and work. I use it often to tell me that I should stand up. I use it to track my sleep because I've found that sleep is the one thing that can make or break any one of my days. If I don't get enough sleep, it's not good. And I've tracked my sleep for the last 7 years because I found that that's the thing. And I don't know if it's because I'm in my early 40s or where I am, but those things all happen because of the technology that we have in place and that we are choosing to use it. Where, when we were kids, it was the alarm clock with the and
Absolutely.
that was it. Do you use any technology? I mean, I know you do use a ton of technology, but anything like specific?
I use a ton of technology, I think, within my business. So I'm very much like you. I have my watch. It reminds me to stand up. It reminds me to drink water. It reminds me to go for a walk. It does all of that. I don't always listen to it, but it does what it needs to do.
The go for the walk one, I don't listen to often enough.
Well,
so
you know what? So what I did last year as part of my Go for a Walk, so I actually have a carpet treadmill under my desk. It's on.
All right. Oh,
So
share technology with me.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So carpet, treadmill, go for 10-minute little spurts of walks, right? And then you're just kind of like, okay, done. So I've done that. I do think technology is important and it makes you run more efficiently. We use a lot of apps. We use a lot of different tools to run our businesses, which are great. But sometimes it's just great to disconnect. And I would encourage everybody, like, disconnect when you can and where you can. Do a detox. I have a professional contact of mine that has literally disconnected from social media for the past 2 years. And he's done like full detox, doesn't go on social media. And he feels fabulous. Every time he tells me, he's like, Anne-Marie, it is the best thing I've ever done. And it's really hard, right? Because we are attached to our watches. We are attached to our phones. We literally it is crazy. And, during the holidays, we had visitors here and I had my niece here and, it was like, she's in her teens and, it's like, okay, dispose. Like that was the word we would use, but now we actually use it for the adults. Like if we feel like the adults have their phones in their hands for too long, it's like dispose, disconnect, right? And I think what I've done is I've started just to incorporate some of the old school stuff, right? Like I went out and bought like a paper calendar and you guys can't see it, but Marie can see it.
I love it.
Right? So that, and, even though we have these apps like Trello and all of these, project management apps, I went and bought a board. There's nothing on it right now, but I'm like, hey, you know what? If there's something that I need to do, I'm going to write it on the board and then I'm going to erase it. Like kind of just old school. It's a whiteboard for all of you who are wondering. It could have been a chalkboard, right? Back in the day for us, but it's just like a little desk whiteboard. So I think that's really important, like just to kind of incorporate non-technology things in our day. Even when we're reading a book, everybody's like, it's just, everybody's on their Kobo and whatever it is they're, like get a real book, I've actually started to put books on my coffee table, and in the morning I'll sit down and I'll read a couple pages of a real book, right? And it's just kind of you detox a little bit from all of that technology. Set goals to just kind of be more in the moment for 2025. We started doing that, during the holidays. It's after dinner, we sit in the living room, but no TV's on, and we just have conversation and a drink. But
of course,
right?
Yes.
But it's like, okay, everybody put your phones down, and let's just have a conversation, right? Where we're taking, even if it's 15, 20 minutes, and it feels good, right? So, I encourage all of our listeners, if you can do that, set aside some time to just disconnect from all technology in 2025 and be more in the moment, and, go back to our childhoods. Like, totally agree with you, right?
Yeah.
Go for a walk, go stand in the park, put your feet on the grass, or go in your backyard if you don't trust the park in your neighborhood.
We went kind of on that same line. Sean took Ava over to the library and they got library cards.
Amazing.
So Ava is 12. She likes to listen to books on her headset. So like, I'd say books on tape, but I know the only way I know how to describe it. It's not on tape anymore. Audiobooks. There you go.
Yes.
We have an Audible account. So she likes to listen to the books, but she won't read books at all unless it's a physical book. And we have stacks and stacks of books. And of course, I told her, anytime you want a book, I will buy it. Like, that's great. And I'm also very excited about the library because now we can go borrow books and we don't have to buy them because she reads them in 2 days. But we've done the same. We have books that are out in our living room. We'll sit down and do that. We've also done a lot more board games and cards, which it seems like we did a ton when we were kids. And my whole family is just very intentional about it. Anytime anybody is visiting, the visiting party will bring a board game. It either can be something new or it can be something they love. And we play. And so we're really good at playing games. Cards you can play cards. You can play Go Fish. It doesn't matter. But it's about that getting together and being intentional and using what was so important to us as kids now to in the place of disconnect. And at least for kids and the adults, I find that at first you're kind of no, I don't want to. And then once you start playing or once you start talking, it's just this is a lot of fun. It's fun to be able to sit down and just have conversations. I have a lot of my clients that know I don't post on social media. I don't look at social media. If you tell me about something that's happening, I'll probably be okay, I believe you. We use LinkedIn because it's a professional space that we use in our work. But Anne-Marie could tell you, I don't post there. And they get a little weirded out about that. But if I look at my phone, because the phone will tell you how you've been using your phone, which I think is helpful. It's 90% productivity. Now that might be I'm checking bank accounts, which is a thing. It might be that I am, checking in on a calendar or I'm scheduling an email. There's things that I can, or whatever the apps are that I'm using for productivity are there. And I'm very proud of that. I feel bad to be I'm very proud of what my phone tells me that I'm doing because it's not about the scroll for me at all. And it is very liberating. If somebody's asking me to check in on what the stats are of social media, I'm I just don't know. And I'm not going to go there. I don't want to spend my time in the endless scroll. So all of that to say, we have some really amazing goals happening in 2025. I hope that, as listeners, you can share some of your goals. Let us be your accountability partners if you need them. And just to keep the word intentional in our minds, let's be intentional about how we're spending our time, not only with our kids or the younger generation, nieces and nephews and things like that. Anne-Marie's doing that now, which is beautiful, but also our parents and our grandparents, if you still have grandparents around. I do. I have a grandmother. She's on both sides. She's the last living grandmother. And our parents. I think just as I'm saying this, we've almost skipped over our parents as being something we really want to be intentional about creating memories for because we've had such a short time with our grandparents, and we know that. And then the people who you are interacting with daily. Anne-Marie and I set a goal to meet in person, and we are in a couple weeks, which is exciting. But that's important, not only as a professional goal, but like as a friendship. It's exciting. And we were spending extra time to deepen our friendship, which is super important. And that's why, this podcast is here. So just kind of giving that goal out there. Anything you would add to that?
Yes. Take the time to write your goals down. Like Marie said, it could be on a little scrap of paper. It could be on a poster. I was in an event last week and this girl did a giant poster with like stickers and her intentions and goals and whatever works for you. Say them out loud, but write them down too, so you can always go back to them. Make sure that your goals are aligned with your values. I think that's really important. I think in the past, when we were setting our professional goals, they had to be SMART goals. I think your professional goals need to be SMART, but they also need to be aligned with your values and your life and how you live your life. And set, like Marie said at the beginning, your professional goals, your personal goals, whether it's health, your family, your relationship, anything like that, right? And find an accountability partner, and if you don't have anybody, feel free to, share it with us, like Marie said, and we'll do a little check-in mid-year and just see how everybody is progressing on their goals and if they need to adjust or, change some of their focus and their goals.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. So are we going to wrap this one up?
I think so. I think this is great. This is a great kickoff to the year. Thank you for being here with us. More to come, absolutely, this year. And we'll keep ourselves accountable and we'll see you on the next episode.
Absolutely. And if you want us to talk about a specific subject or topic, please feel free to post in the comments. We're always looking for new conversations. If you'd like to join us as a guest, please also reach out to us by email or on one of our social platforms. Thank you all for joining us. And I want to wish you all a great 2025. Have a great week. Bye.
And that's a wrap for this week's episode of Xennial Mindset Show. We hope that you enjoy the deep dive into unique perspectives that defines our generation. A big shout out to our incredible guest Xennials who shared their stories and insights.
If you want to stay connected and continue the conversation, please follow us on social media at the Xennial Mindset Show. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Your feedback means the world to us.
Join us again next week as we unpack even more captivating topics, unraveling the threads of the Xennial experience. Until then, this is Marie, Mack and Amp signing off. Keep embracing the Xennial mindset and remember, the best is yet to come.